Yeah, good evening everyone, and I welcome you to this today's webinar. So this is the third session of this series, and I'm sure that we all have enjoyed the past two series as well, the two sessions as well. Okay, and the link of these two sessions, I'll be posting it after the end of this session. So to start with today, there were many interesting things that we learned in this past two sessions, and today also there are many interesting things that we'll be learning about business etiquettes. We all know Vikrant sir. Just for all who are new today, I'll introduce him in a brief, and then I'll hand over to Vikrant sir. So Vikrant sir, he is a managing director of Being Catalyst Private Limited, and he has a vast experience in the fields of banking and finance, and has held key positions in various Indian and international institutions such as LIC HFL, Barclays Bank PLC, Abu Dhabi Finance. He is also ex-MD and CEO of Cosmos Bank and is a keynote speaker at various institutions. Sir, I welcome you to today's session and thanks a lot for accepting our invitation. I also welcome all the viewers out here. And sir, all over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anu. It's indeed a pleasure to interact on your forum. And I'm really
Yes.
glad the excellent work that you guys are doing. Just for the sake of repetition, for the viewers and for some of the new people who have messaged me and pinged me saying that they are going to attend, just for the benefit of all, Anup, if you could just briefly talk about professional forum also before we
Yeah.
start so that it becomes relevant for everyone.
Sure. So
Yeah.
Professional Forum probably in 2016 was just a WhatsApp group, and it was just started, to have various updates about various legal terms, various professional terms, and various professional things and updates that we all have. But then now during this COVID period, we thought, okay, now let's expand it as well. We have a bit time, and we can, just work on the prior things where we can expand various activities, and which will involve a lot of people. So now professional forums in last 1 month, there are various webinars that we have planned for the benefit of all, not only for a single profession as per se, but for each and every profession, for businesses, for individuals. Then also we have come up with magazines, professional forum magazines, where we update about taxation matters, accounting matters, auditing matters. So basically, this group is all about giving updates, interaction, and keeping ourselves updated and developing together. So sabka saath, sabka vishwas. That is the motto of this professional forum. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said indeed.
Thank
So let's begin the last session today. Last session for business etiquettes. I'm sure there would be many more to come, and I'll be too glad to get associated with professional forum.
you. Sure, sir.
I hope the young budding chartered accountants who have joined this forum are being benefited by the discussions that we are having. And please keep pouring your comments, your suggestions, and things out here. Very much welcome to all of you on this. Now, in today's session, what I'm planning to look at is, take up the business etiquettes in relation to sending emails, telephone calls, thank you notes, personal, professional letters, and non-professional letters. And because we are in times where everybody is under lockdown and we are making effective use of collaborative tools, I'll also be talking about the business etiquettes that need to be required while interacting on collaborative business tools. Yeah, and as again, as you all have requested, rather than keeping for the question answer session only at the end, we will take it into parts. First part we'll do it after the email etiquettes and telephone etiquettes, and then subsequently we'll do it at the end of the session. Right. So let's begin, guys. Yeah, and before I move on, I would like to talk about a few aspects that we discussed in last session. In last session, guys, if you remember, we spoke about the overall interactions, cultural aspects in international business, and all of those aspects. Now, one very good friend of mine and a mentor for many of you all had messaged me, and he had given me a suggestion. In fact, he shared his own life experience. He was in Sweden, and in Sweden, rather than just the host paying the bill, they also request if you would like to pay the bill jointly. Yeah, so in your terms, in the young generation terms, it is TTMM. So that again is something which is very vogue in international business meetings. So that's something which I thought I'll share with you. Well, his name is Deepak Joshi, and he is the HR head for Tata Group. I'll try and see if I can get him on our forums at some point in time. I'm sure he has lots of experience to share. Yeah. So moving ahead with today's session again, then, as Bill Gates had said, almost overnight the internet's gone from a technical wonder to a business must. It has become a business essential, and therefore email is a convenient and effective medium to conduct business communication. Now, in this module, we'll discuss the etiquette's guidelines on how to address an email message, the use of grammar, the acronyms in the letter body, and the top 5 technology tips that we need to be careful of. Okay. Now, addressing your message. I mean, we all know. I mean, we've been using emails. I guess now you guys since your school days, and of course, it's rampantly used in business. And there are a lot of interesting stories which possibly I could share from my experience because when I started working, emails were not very much in vogue, especially in India. Of course, they were in vogue in the US and UK for quite some time now. But when I joined my career in I guess around the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, emails were a prerogative of very few top-notch, most tech-savvy sort of a people, and most of the communication, whether it be circulars or things, was by letters. It was by the actual post. And today, when we look at things, it's really hard to imagine and believe that the world was transacting without emails. It has become such an integral part today. I remember the first email account that I opened way back was a Yahoo, not knowing what emails meant. And then, of course, you had Hotmail, and then you have your domains, and now you have 100 different accounts. I'm sure if you look at the smartphone of any individual today, he'll have at least 3 to 5 email accounts, and not talking about business accounts, various aspects that we have associated with it. Now, when you talk of the email, the most important aspect is to know when to use the to CC and the BCC fields. Now, I'll give you an interesting example. I mean, when we talk about corporate culture, in most of the organizations today, there is actually a formal session on etiquettes at the time of induction, and every organization has its own email culture, and it is right, they need to have that email culture, because then what happens is, you by not following the do's and don'ts and the business rules of your organization, you are actually hampering the effectiveness, or I would call the efficacy, the efficiency and the quality of work of your organization. So if you don't follow business etiquettes in while sending emails or on telephones, then you are actually hampering the efficacy of your organization. Why? Because if you send email to anyone and everyone, whether understanding whether it's of relevance or not of relevance, you are actually not only cluttering their mailbox, but you're also encroaching on their time. Because even if I just have to ignore and delete, I need those seconds to actually look and see that whether it's of relevance or not, and that's a time killer for me. Then that happens to many people. So it's really important to know when to use the two CC and BCC fields. And many times we just copy the entire world onto emails. Now, this again is done with many ulterior motives as well. People want to address everyone and saying, oh no, just to keep you informed. My dear friend, is it really important to keep people informed? You need to realize and understand that before actually sending out those mails. Some people try to use it. I had told you so. I have done my duty. I had kept you informed, and therefore it was to more or less save their backs. That is the reason they copy each and everyone in the mail. There are some people who say, who are just in the habit of reply all and send anything and everything to them and add a few more things. No, just in case, right? Yeah, I mean, just in case somebody else doesn't receive it, somebody in the team would look at it. Now, we are not in the era of ifs and buts. There is a certainty to it. People are responsible, and there are ways and means to track at what time the mail was delivered, whether it was opened, whether it was read, and all of those things could be there. Some people will also ensure that you tick mark and say read receipt. So every time an email comes from that person, he wants a confirmation that you have read it, you have opened up the mail. I mean, yes, there are. I mean, if it is so that very important and message where you need to have the read receipt, then it's a different story. But otherwise, without understanding what we are getting into, people normally just, you know, shoot out emails. So let's look at the three aspects of it. So there are three common ways to address an email, and each way is most appropriate for specific contents and context. Now, using the to field, the to field is used when sending a direct message to someone. So obviously it is addressed to that person, and therefore it's the to. You may send the same email to multiple addresses using the to field, right? So for example, you can do so that the to mail could be addressed to n number of people that you want to have, because you want each of them to take action on it. If that's a scenario, if you are sending a message to team members saying all of you need to revert to me on an X sort of a thing by end of the day or whatever the timelines you have set in, and you want each one of them to take an action on it, then you would include all of them into the to field of the email. So you may send the same email to multiple addresses using the to field. Do so when your email is meant to be addressed directly to all the recipients, as in case of a manager directing his teams. Now, when you're using the to field, all email addresses can be viewed by all recipients. Okay, so put multiple addresses into the to fields only when every recipient is okay to view the email address of the others that you're putting in. Because once you have mentioned to, and if it is cross organizational, please be mindful that by putting their addresses in the to field means anyone and everyone who is receiving that email will also see the email addresses of other people with whom you are corresponding and writing to. So for example, if you're sending a promotional email and using a database, please don't clutter everybody's boxes by the to field. Or else, if you want to protect your data, then obviously you should not be sending across to all of them. Now, using the CC field. Now, the CC stands for carbon copy. So though there is no carbon in this, it's a copy that is very important. So the relevance here is more on the copy. So you use the CC field to send a copy of the email message to people who are not meant to be the direct recipients of the message, but they need to be kept in the loop. So only when you want to keep people, and only those people who want whom you want to keep in the loop, you need to address them in the CC. For instance, if a manager has ordered his secretary to send a memo to everyone in the department, the secretary may place all the department employees' emails addressed to the to section and the manager's email in the CC field, right? So like the to field, all email addresses entered in the CC field can also be viewed by everyone. Okay. Now let's move on to the BCC field. Now BCC stands for blind carbon copy. Now blind means that it cannot be seen by others. Other people, the to and the CC recipients will not know who has been marked in the BCC. So when you place an email address in the BCC field, recipients are blind to other recipients' email addresses. The use of BCC is most appropriate if the recipients have not given permission for their email addresses to be released, or if there is a reason to keep the email addresses private, or there is also a reason that you don't want the recipients and the people in the loop to know that somebody else has also been notified about it. Yeah, and there are various such scenarios that you may come across for ethical reasons that you may really want to use the BCC field. Now, because the BCC field offers privacy to the to and the CC fields which do not, you may use the BCC field both for direct and indirect mail messages where privacy of the email addresses is needed. So if you wish to send an email to many direct recipients and you don't wish to disclose anyone's email address to the other people, you can use your own email address to the to field and use the BCC field for the recipients of all the addresses. Now, the address is received by the name of the first. Yeah. So for example, if now you want to send a email, a promotional business promotional email, and you don't want the email addresses to be shared with all of the recipients, then what you do is in the to section, you write your own email address, So it would be a mail from you to you with a BCC to all the other people that you want to send, where in their inbox they will get as if the mail has been received from your end directly. Yeah. Now, the moving on to the next part of this, address the receiver by name in the first sentence of your email. So when you're sending an email, say if you're sending a mail to Anup Shah, then address the receiver by name in the first sentence of your email. So for example, it could be something like, Mr. Shah, I received copies of the file. Or you could use a proper address, right? CA Mr. Shah, until unless, I mean, for example, if you're on a great familiarity with people, then possibly you could use first name, saying, for example, if I know Anup well, I'll say, dear Anup, enclosed is so and so, or I acknowledge receipt of so and so. So depending on the proximity that you have the people, you will use the salutation as normally you would do in case of your letters. But when the email is addressed to the person, it is a best habit to address his name in the first sentence of your email, right? Now, moving on to the next part, always follow the rules of good grammar. Needless to add, absolutely important. Avoid text speak abbreviations. I know most of the young guys are so used to text messaging. You, instead of YOU, you'll write you. By the way, BTW. I mean, so many acronyms you have. Most of us, the old generation, find it difficult to understand. But please, in business emails, avoid the text speak abbreviations completely. Like IMHO, BTW, LOL. Avoid those in emails completely, right? Now, let's look at the five top technology tips. Medium is the message. So while online mediums of communication have developed their own vocabulary, it's best to remember that business emails, the same formality as in business letter, is envisaged out here. Yeah. So here are the some key things to remember with regards to the grammar and the use of acronyms. Always follow the rules of good grammar. You may refer to English writing style guidelines for these rules. I mean, I'm not going to get into those basics again. Always use full sentences and words with proper sentence structure. Don't use the text speak at all. For example, to use the reports are due on Monday, instead of how you people will write the reports are DUEMON. Yeah, that's how you would type on a WhatsApp messenger or any other messenger. Please avoid doing that. So instead of D reports, that is, you would write the alphabet D, reports are due. Let's not get into that. Let's not do that, right? Then the most important aspect of this is um, proper capitalization and punctuation are a must. All caps give the impression that you're shouting, and all the small caps are hard to read, right? Now I'll give you a small example of what happened before I move on to always reread your letters and emails. I was in Middle East, um, and I'm sure a few of my colleagues who possibly would have joined me on this session, they would remember. And in fact, because I saw a few names of my colleagues, I remember this incident. I was heading the relationship management solution out there for Barclays Bank, and there was a very irate customer of ours. And I mean, it had the escalation of the problem had become so serious that it had been escalated to me, and I had to pacify him and write to him. And the next was the MD. So because the escalation had gone so bad that our customer care executives had failed, the call center had failed, the mortgage companions and things have failed. So it was a last sort of a resort that he was writing to me. And when I was writing to him, I wrote back to him. I mean, I had pacified most of the things, but in the email that I wrote to him, thanks to the auto spell check, I had written, kindly bear with us in the interim. Now the spelling of bear went wrong and it became beer. Yeah, so kindly bear with us in the interim. Now imagine this sort of a stupid typo going out from the relationship head guy or the head of mortgages that I was there. going from such a senior position with such stupid mistakes, going out an email to an added customer, and that to a customer who was a Brit. Yeah, I mean, who, you can understand the consequences of it. I mean, to the extent, believe it or not, but the MD of the bank literally fired me that day. He was so upset with me, and of course I was upset about myself too. I just couldn't forgive myself. But my dear friends, this is a real life experience I'm sharing with you. Of course, I have no regrets, because that has taught me a great lesson, that you would need to reread your communication not just once but twice. And if it's that sort of important, all the more precautions you need to take. This is again, I'm talking from self experience. I hope none of you get into such messy situations, but this is something that can be avoided completely. Yeah. Now, again, going back to the example, if you're saying the report should have included, the report should include an evaluation report. Now, instead of the report, supposing if you write everything in capital, it would amount like you're shouting on people. Yeah. So please don't do that. Now, in business emails, avoid text speak abbreviations, as I said, by the way, and all of them. All the rules that you follow for your normal business letters, you should follow for um, your things out here also, right? Um, Now, if going back to the technology tips, when let's come to the other aspects of the email. Now, medium is the message. Now, what do you mean by here? There are some things that are better done face to face rather than through the net. An example of this, delivering negative feedback, right? So for example, if you want to tell somebody that, well, this is not the right way to do it, or you want to elaborate, discuss on certain aspects, you are not agreeing to certain things. So rather than getting into a fight on emails, understand that the message is a medium to communicate. It is not the only medium to communicate. It is one of the medium to communicate. And many times, if at all there are there could be repercussions to uh, the problem which is being escalated, or the matter that is being discussed, then it is always better to face first, and possibly then if you have to follow it up, to follow it up with an email later. But then you do that face to face things. So one such scenario could be, if you want to give a negative feedback, or if you're disagreeing very strongly on some aspect of the project, then it's better that you talk to the stakeholder on a one-to-one basis first, and then send an email to that external. Don't use technology when a personal approach is much more appropriate or desirable, right? Again, always reread your letters. I've already shared experience. Some statements don't come across well when you're writing. An ironic joke, if people can't see the twinkle in your eye, if they can't see the expression, if you're being sarcastic, that is something they would know from your other mannerisms and your body language, but that's not evident in the emails, right? And therefore you should not write those things in the email that normally you would speak up. Yeah. Think security. Now, do not assume privacy when communicating online. Do not use emails to discuss confidential and speculative information, because you're not sure who is going to open up the email. Especially if you're writing to higher ups, you're not sure who is accessing their inbox. It could be their secretary who is being given access to understand and check out the emails. So be very very sure. Think about the security. If at all you need to preempt the person saying that you're going to send something very very confidential, it's always better to call up, speak up to them, tell them that you are sending such and such confidential thing, and then possibly you send it across to them. Yeah, so think security first. Now think about your recipient's convenience. Now, since reading the screen is more difficult than reading from paper, the structure and layout is very important for an email message. So use short paragraphs and blank lines between each paragraph. Keep the spacing really, eye friendly, user friendly. And when making points, number them or mark each point with bullet. I mean, these are basic things, because when you're reading an actual printed paper, it's much easier, it's more soothing to your eyes than reading on screen. And especially if you have been working on screens day in and day out, it tends to affect your eyes considerably. So the message has to be crisp. The out layout has to be very simple, soothing to your eyes, and easy to comprehend. Yeah. Don't attach lengthy documents in your email. Forcing your client to read a long document through a screen is being really very insensitive. Not to mention the time it would cost them to download those bulk files. And if a hard copy is possible, then send a hard copy instead, if it's a bulk document that you're talking about. And of course, it's only for FYI, for information only. Of course, yes, let's save trees and try not to send any printed document. Try to send electronic documents uh, to the effect possible. Next point is skip it if it's not necessary. Remember that most emails now go to PDAs, that is personal handheld devices. So before sending a message in late hours, ask yourself, how will they react to me sending a text message? Email is nothing but a different form of a text message. So just because you have the technology at your tip of your fingers does not mean you should flout it, does not mean you should abuse it. So think what the person would feel if you have sent him a text message at this point in time. Accordingly, prioritize the time for sending your email. So skip if it's not necessary. So before you forward the memo, your receiver that you have received to your staff, think if they really need to have this piece of information. Do the person you are intending to send needs that information at that point in time, or can it wait for a later day? Or supposing, again, when we come to the 2 and the BCC and things, is it really essential for me to send the email? Think twice before you send, right? Let's move on to the next part. We'll go to the telephone etiquette also, and then take the question answers. I'm sure there could be a few questions that you may have, but let's wait till we finish the telephone etiquettes. And I don't think I'll take much time in that because most of you are familiar with it. But nevertheless, we'll just go through the basics. Yeah. Now, as David Grenson had said, an unbelievable number of clients interactions start with a telephone call. And this is so very true in today's world. Whether you are in IT industry, you are in service industry, you are in banking, you are in insurance, you are in sales, in any damn profession that you are in, your 99% of your interactions are on phone calls these days. So either phone calls as in calls, or the emails, or the text. So your phone has become your virtual office, and especially now in COVID days. Yeah. This time we look at the telephone etiquettes. Particularly, we discuss about how to develop an appropriate greeting, how to deal with voicemails, and the cell phones do's and don'ts. I'm not getting into more of the nitty-gritties, but it's just a overall etiquettes that you need to follow. Yeah. So developing an appropriate greeting. So when you start, normally what you should be doing is you should identify yourself and the company. If it's a company call that you're taking, if it's a personal call, still, good evening, Vikrant here. Good afternoon, so and so here. So identify yourself. That's most important. So say your greetings. Yeah. So now for business telephones, you should always answer the phone with a phrase like, as I said, good morning, good afternoon. Speak very clearly, distinctly, in a pleasant tone in a voice. I mean, when you go to a business etiquette class, normally what they would also tell you is how to bring a cheer in your voice, how to bring a smile in your voice. And we do give training sessions for the call center agents who are working day and night. And if you see, forget about the mundane ones out there, but if they are sales call centers, you can actually see the smile in their uh, discussion, or the phone when they're talking. I'll give you a small example. We all listen to radio jockeys, right? So you can sense the emotions and feelings when they're talking to you. So though you can't see them, uh, you're not face to face, but still you can sense the emotions that they are trying to send. And it's, believe me, it's possible to bring that spurs out in your voice when you are answering the phone, and that is really important. As I said, some trainers actually recommend smiling before answering the phone, just to ensure that that smile gets captured in your voice, and it gets sent across to the person across the line. Yeah, in order to send a very positive energy, but and your tone, and it actually helps. I mean, I have tested this out, because I mean there have been times, especially heading the bank, it was really difficult not to answer phones, and you would get drained out and irritated by end of the day. And then subsequently, it all boils down, and we take toll on our family members. So anytime my wife or my daughter would call, they would normally have me drained. I mean, then one day I thought how boring it must be for them to call me and get that boring hello, yes, sort of a tone out there. And therefore I had tried to make it a practice, saying I would spurs up, I would smile up, I would say, oh yes, I'm glad, I'm happy to take this call, and I would answer them. And it just made their day at times, and it might made my day too. Sorry guys, I'm sharing practical tips out here, because as you start getting into your jobs, and as it starts taking toll on your not just your health but also your mood, these small things help a lot. Yeah, moving along. Identify yourself and your company. It's only polite to tell other person on the line that they have reached the right place. For example, this is ABC company, Vikrant speaking, or you have reached Marks and Spencers. This is Jonathan. Yes, I know people who know me would say I could come out to Marks and Spencers only. Yeah, I love the brand. That's the reason I've thought about it. Yeah, inquire again. Inquire how you could be of assistance to them. For example, how may I be of service to you, or how can I help you? Even if it's a simple tone, that can set the tone for the overall discussion that you have. Yeah. So we've discussed on this how you might be of assistance, speak clearly and distinctly. Now many times what happens is you are not actually able to take up the calls, and therefore you want to set up voice messages. So let's take a few tips on dealing with voice messages. So state your name, affiliation, and phone number. So for example, state the reason for your calling, and state any action plan that is required on your message. So these are the basic three tips. Now let's move on. I mean, so there could be two elements to it, right? A voicemail when you are leaving a message, and a voicemail which you are recording, right? Now, so when you are calling in and you want to leave a message on a voicemail, then what you do is you state your name, affiliation, and your phone number if you are requesting a callback. Also state the reason for your calling, and state any action plan. So for example, let's take up a scenario where I'm calling in, say, Shraddha, and I would get a message, you have reached Shraddha's voicemail. If you want to leave a message, press so and so. So I press that whatever button is there. Then what do I speak out here? Then I speak very clearly and say, good afternoon, Shraddha. This is Vikrant from so and so. And the reason I'm calling you is we had agreed to have a conference call by, say, whatever is the discussion we have had. So I would be really glad if you could call back, because I have another set of meetings which are lined up, and therefore I would really appreciate your phone by 4 o'clock today, to ensure that we are on track for the project. And you may reach me on 999 XXX number, whatever it be. So it is very clear for the recipient to understand the context of the call, what is expected out of them, and what, if they have to call back, which number they have to call back on. Many times it may happen that you are calling from your landline and then you want them to call on your cell phone, or vice versa. And therefore it is always essential that you give a complete clarity when you are leaving a voice note. Now let's look at the tips on when you're leaving a voice note or a recorded message. Most importantly, record your own personal greetings. Include in your greetings your name, the department, and the company, so that people know that they have reached the correct person. Don't use those pre-recorded messages. It would be really nice if you could do it so in your own voice. Then give people information that can help them to save your time as well as their time. For example, please leave a brief message stating how I can help you along with your phone number, and I'll call you back. So the same thing that you would do if you are leaving a message proactively, many people cannot be proactive. So therefore, when you are recording your own voicemail, give them the direction on what exactly you expect from them. Like, let them identify themselves, let them give the phone number on which you should call back, and state the reason why they had called. Okay. Again, uh, again, most important aspect in voicemails is you need to stay top of your messages, right? You cannot just forget about it. So the number of times you check your voice message each day will actually depend on your job function, your industry, how busy you are. However, if you if you have not, if you don't get back to people in a reasonable amount of time, then it is definitely considered rude. So you should check your messages at least once in a day and return the calls. There is a sundown rule in sales. So anything that you have promised somebody, you need to either complete it before end of the day or keep them informed about the status of what is being happening in that period and by when they could expect a resolution. So the sundown rule is important, and the sundown rule applies even to return the telephone calls. State when you would be unavailable if you can't respond within 24 hours. For example, I'm out of office today on whatever day, say 16th of April 2020, and I will be returning after, say, the 20th of April 2020, and I will not be able to check my voicemail until I come back. Or if there is an emergency, then please contact my assistant or contact so and so who is working in my place on, give the phone number and things out there. Yeah, so try to make it as clear to those people as possible, right? This was more on the voicemails. Now let's move to the do's and don'ts of the cell phones on the etiquettes, and then we'll possibly take a break for question answers. Yeah. Now here are some of the do's and don'ts on the call. Don't take calls in the middle of a business meeting or a conversation with another people, right? Exceptions, of course, are urgent calls. But if you have to take a call, excuse yourself first before taking the call. Likewise, set your ringer to silent on your phone or on a vibrate mode when you are in social conversations. Never talk in intimate settings or places where silence is imperative. For example, elevators, libraries, museums, restaurants, cemeteries, theaters, dentists, doctors' waiting rooms, places of worship, auditoriums, or even the public places such as hospitals, rooms, or buses. So never talk in intimate settings where silence is absolutely imperative. Don't talk on a cell phone in a public place. A good rule is to keep the 10 feet rule. So answer a call at least 10 feet away from the next person. So for example, if you have to take that call when you are with somebody, excuse yourself, move out of range slightly. May not be possible for a complete 10 feet, but at least 5 to 6 feet apart, move out and then take the call. If you really have to take a call in public, step out to a secluded area to take that call. You can also set your phone to voicemail so that it reaches out to the people and they know that you are in a public place or you can't take the call. Or if you really must take the call, answer briefly just to tell that you are in a public place and you would return the call. So rather than discussing the business out there, just tell them very politely and courteously that you are in a public place and you will possibly call them back at the earliest if that's not possible for you to do so, right? Keep business calls within business hours. Just because it's a cell phone, it doesn't mean that you can call any person anytime. As I said, we should not misuse the technology at hand. It is really important. We understand the privacy. Um, Try not to send messages, even if it's a WhatsApp message or SMS or whatever, if it's not within business hours, right? So here I have completed more on the etiquettes on emails and telephones. Let's see if we have any questions. Over to you, Anup.
Yes, sir. Currently, there are no questions, so I think like we can go ahead.
Okay, cool,
Yes, sir.
perfect. Yeah. So now let's move on to the next aspect of it, the written letter. And guys, I'm trying to keep it simple, to the point. So in case you want some additional information, then also do keep on sending your suggestions, or if you want to discuss on a specific topic or a specific scenario, do send us a message, and we'll take those questions immediately as and when appropriate. Right? Yeah. So even in written communication, appropriate tone, content, and format must be observed. I'm just going to talk about two aspects of it: a formal letter and an informal note, or a thank you note as well, that we need to write up. Now, in this module, we'll discuss about how to write a thank you note, a formal letter, and a informal letter. Right? The art of art, the glory of expression, and the sunshine of the light of letters is simplicity. Keep it stupid simple, KISS, KISS. Keep it simple is what is the essence of what I'm going to talk over next 15 minutes or so. Yeah. So let's talk about the thank you notes. Now, expressing appreciation is always a good idea, whether it's for a gift or an act of kindness or a business courtesy. You can do this by sending a thank you note. So even if I remember you, or a thank you, or for even if it's a phone call which you have received from your friend after long gap of a couple of days, it would really nice to send you a appreciation. It's always good to appreciate. Please keep on appreciating people around, and the positive vibes would spread across, and they'll come back to you. So it's always nice to send a thank you note. Now, the formality of your thank you note depends on the relationship that you will have with the person. So if you are again a thank you note to a senior who gave you a promotion would be a more formal one than a thank you note that you will be sending to a long time client for hosting a lunch, or the one that you will be sending to your friend. Now, formal ones can be written on the company's letterhead, and the informal one could be simply, best is handwritten note on a piece of stationery. And of course, these days, of even a WhatsApp message or a SMS, or any mode of communication can be sent, and you can obviously personalize it. Right? A thank you note need not be a long letter. So what it needs to have, the basic contents of a thank you note must be your thanks. So obviously the thank you has to be there, what you are thanking them for, and what their gesture, gift, or action meant to you or for your company. Yeah. So rather just writing a thank you, it's always nice to beef it up with what you are thanking them for. It could be the call, the gift, or whatever has happened out there, or the gesture that they have shown, and what it meant to you. So, yeah, so it means a lot. You made my day. Any of those things that you would want to add, right? Now, a formal style is recommended for most business correspondence. It shows courtesy, professionalism, and knowledge of protocol. So, as a rule, use a formal style unless invited otherwise, or you have already established relationship with the person you're writing to. If you know him for quite some time, then obviously you can take liberties, and you can be more personal or more intimate in your notes. Now, here are some of the basic rules, right? Now, again, as I said, non-formal ones can be simply handwritten letter or things. We have discussed about the formal ones. So use the correct stationery format. Formal letters are written on a plain white or shades of white, cream, 8.5-inch or 11-inch paper, and stationery that bears the company letterhead may also be used. A formal letter usually contains the sections like the sender's full name and address, addressee's full name, address, a date of the letter, or assume it is going to fall on the hands of the receiver, the salutation, dear, plus the formal address, Mr. So and so, whatever. The subject line, say regarding, whatever details and things that you have. And of course, the closing part of it, respectfully, sincerely yours, and all of those aspects that you are there. The layout of the page is very important. There are two commonly used layouts of the formal letter. One is the block and the semi-block. So in the block format, all text is aligned to the left margin and the paragraph is not indented. Whereas in the semi-block format, all text is aligned to the left margin, but the paragraphs are indented, right? And when you're writing letters, now with use of words, you have so many other, formats where you can spruce up your letter. Try and see if you can justify both the margins from both the sides. Both formats are considered appropriate for business correspondence. The tone of the formal letters, has to be, it has to be a very formal in tone. Words are spelled out and the sentences flow grammatically correct, and then they are structured. Comments are organized in a clear and concise manner. Avoid unnecessary information, avoid slang, avoid abbreviations. Just keep it stupid, simple. Huh? Uh, let's move on to the informal letters. Informal business letter is much shorter and is more straightforward version of the formal letter. Standard rules on grammar and spelling correctness still apply, but you can be flexible with those. For example, contractions, abbreviations, and slang may possibly be permissible as long as the overall professional note and tone of the letter is kept. So you can be a bit more flexible and you can have a relaxed tone in sense. Yeah. Now the tone of the informal business letter is more relaxed, and the conversational salutations and closing are more personalized. For instance, you may use "Hey Deepak" instead of "Dear Mr. Zoshi" or something, and you can close with something like "Cheers" or "See you soon," instead of "Respectfully yours" or "Sincerely yours sincerely." Rather than that, you could use something like "Cheers," "See you around," "See you folks," whatever. The content can be less technical or academic, and familiarity is assumed, but the respect is still there. At any point in time, please remember you are writing something, it's going out as an evidence, so you need to be at your best, and the respect has always to be there in whatever format and howsoever intimate you may be to the person. Now, this letter is in reference to a letter dated so and so, or it's regarding whatever has happened. So again, follow the basic things, the intention of the letter, what is expected out of the person, and what is it that you want to state. Make it very crisp and simple, right? Now this is, again, I just wanted to give you more of a brush up on whatever we have already learned on business etiquettes in terms of letter writing, formal, informal letters and things. Now let's come to the last but not the least and the most important aspect of how do we handle um, the collaborative platforms and tools out there. Now, obviously, I have not created slides on it because it was a last minute tip which has come in where people wanted to understand. Well, basically, most of the discussions that we have had around business etiquettes still hold good in a collaborative environment. In fact, you need to be a bit more mindful and you have to ensure the clarity that you are trying to put through in while using these mediums. For example, now if I'm at this point in time, I'm interacting with you guys. Now the fact of the matter remains that I'm not able to see you physically. I have a screen in front of me and I am looking at a PowerPoint slide. So I can't even see myself in the screen as of now, right? So now in this scenario, it becomes very important for me to try and ensure that I am looking at you. You get to see that yes, I am talking to you. I have that connect with you, and while I am talking, I am with you completely. So a similar situation if you are on a conference call, say either on a Skype, Zoom, GoToMeetings, a number of collaborative platforms that you have now. So your body language has to be more than accurate when you are actually on the collaborative tools. That is rule number one. Rule number two is when you are on telephone calls, you possibly understand there is a response from the other end, wherein you know that yes, the message is clear, the connectivity is good, and there is a response that you are getting instantaneously. In collaborative tools, you may not get that response immediately, and therefore it would be good to check in at frequent intervals where you see all of them are there around or not. Many times what happens on collaborative platforms is the person who is speaking, the window of his the video or whatever comes up at the top, and the others move around. So you may feel, array, just now I was seeing Shraddha here, now Deepak has come in, now Anup has come in, what's happening? You need to understand the functionalities of the platform that you're using. And if you're addressing it to a one particular person, then it's always nice to take a pause, have a discussion, understand, and seek to understand that yes, the message that you are trying to put across is actually being clear and they have got the message or they have been understood. Most importantly, seek to understand first before being understood. So, for example, before ensuring that you need to speak and you need to tell what you want to say, take a pause, be patient, try to understand what the other side of the person is trying to say, understand them completely, listen to them completely, and then you react, right? Many times what happens is, as we are sitting in a room and we are looking at each other, we get to know from body language who wants to talk, and there is an eagerness in people who want to talk. But if you start talking all of you together on a collaborative platform, it just gets cluttered and nobody can hear anything. Most of the collaborative platforms have a raise a hand function, so it is always nice to raise your hand, wait for your turn, and then go ahead and discuss what you want to say. Well, at the same time, you also need to ensure that you are not ignored. Yeah, because there is a point that you want to make, it's very important, and it has to be said at that point in time. So you should not, just for the critics of, oh, let me wait for my turn. It should not happen that people have moved on to a different next topic, and then you go back and say, oh, well, by the way, for this particular point I want to say this. No, if for that reason, if at all you feel that the meeting is moving ahead where you want to make a point on the point that is being discussed, or they were wrapping up that discussion, then at that point in time it is appropriate to put in a very courteous request saying, hey guys, can I put in a word please? Wait for their acknowledgement and then begin, and then explain the point that you want to mention or you want to say. Again, because this is a collaborative platform and because you're not getting that instant gratification of people or instant response from people, it is always nice to reiterate what you have said, that they have understood as you want them to understand. So keeping the communication loop clear, crisp, and complete is very important, and you need to go that extra step to ensure that people understand what you have said and you have understood what they have said. So these are again small tips that I think are important. Again, one last point, not very important though, is if you are not familiar with the platform that is being used, please ensure that you have the requisite technology, you have the platform downloaded, or you are able to go it on the net. So even if you join the meeting room 5 minutes or 10 minutes before, it's still okay. You can test it out, or you can request, if it's a very important meeting, you can request for a quick demo session with the people that you are going to have the meeting with if the platform is new for you. For example, there are numerous platforms which are coming up. People are not very comfortable using Zoom for that matter. You would have heard 500 accounts have been hacked and they are available on the darknet for sale. So you may be used to Skype and Zoom, and people may not want to use it. They may want to use, say, GoToMeeting or Cisco WebEx or any other platform, and you may not have access to that. So please ensure in the email or the meeting invite that you get, there probably would be a link which you need to click. Ensure you click on the link even if it's not time for the meeting. Try and see what platform is being used, whether you have those requisite platforms on your whatever device that you're going to use. Many of the platforms have the full blown solution which is recommended to be used on a laptop. So try and see if you could use your laptop for the collaborative tools that you use. They are compatible with your handheld devices or also, but they may not have the full blown solutions as available in the laptops. So try and be on your laptops when you want to use collaborative tools. Of course, if you are comfortable with it, you can use your handheld devices also and move ahead. That's not a problem at all. These are the few tips which I thought I'll share with you on the collaborative platforms. That's more or less from my end, guys. We have 5 more minutes. Any questions, do feel free to ask. Over to you, Anup.
Yes, thanks a lot, sir. That was really a vibrant session, and there are a lot of minute details that you shared with us. And I think this details regarding emails or telephonic communications, or even now in this times of crisis, what we use is collaborative platforms. They are really of great importance, and basically we use it every day, and that basically shapes our personality, or basically conveys our personality, exactly how we are, how courteous we are. And so these are really minute things that we need to take care of, not only in business or profession. I again repeat that, as I repeat it every time, but also in our personal lives. That will not only boost our self-esteem, but also our confidence and the way we are perceived by others. So, sir, thanks a lot for this vibrant session, and also for all these previous sessions. This series was amazing, and I'm sure people will cherish it for a long. All these videos will be available on our YouTube channel. Also, what I'll do is I'll share the links on each and every video of all the three videos that we have, so that you can easily access it. That's from our end. Sir, thanks a lot. It was amazing again.
Absolute pleasure, Anup.
Yes, sir. And we are looking forward to have you with us for more sessions, many more sessions to come.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have
Yes.
a great evening, all of you. Pleasure connecting with you. And I've put up the slide. You can reach out to me at any point in time, just in case you need anything else. Not a problem, and we'll be too glad to be of help. Any assistance required, always out there. Again, just for the sake of reiterating, I've tried to keep it really stupid simple. Given that the audience are budding chartered accountants and people who are entering, new walks of life, I have tried to tailor all of the three sessions more towards them. So trying to keep it really basic and simple. Of course, for people who really want to, enrich themselves into it, there's lots to be done. Lot can be done on self development and learning, and there are a lot of content available out there. But if you need some specific contents on any of these aspects, you can always reach out to us, or write on professional forum, and collaboratively we'll come back to you and ensure that we are able to provide what you're looking for. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Yes. Thank you.
Pleasure
So
connecting with you. Thank
let's
you.
stay home, let's stay safe, and yeah, let's keep learning. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye. Good day.